I never thought a simple piece of paper could shatter my world, but that's exactly what happened on a quiet Tuesday morning at my flower shop. The note was tucked between the stems of a fresh delivery of peonies, crisp white paper folded into perfect quarters, like something you'd pass in high school. My name is Kala, and until that moment, I thought I had everything figured out. Successful florist, loving husband, and 16 weeks pregnant with our first child. But life has a way of pulling the rug out from under you when you least expect it. Your husband isn't who you think he is. Ask him about Sarah from the Denver office. I read those words at least 10 times, my hands trembling more with each pass. The morning sickness I'd finally gotten over threatened to return as I sank onto my work stool, the scent of flowers suddenly overwhelming. "Hey, boss lady." My assistant Maya's cheerful voice made me jump. I crumpled the note and shoved it into my apron pocket. "Those centerpieces for the Thompson wedding are ready for your final approval." "Thanks, Sal. I'll check them in a minute." I forced a smile, but Maya's expression told me I wasn't fooling anyone. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just pregnancy stuff," I lied, waving her off. "The baby's not a fan of the lily fragrance today." Maya nodded sympathetically and returned to her work, leaving me alone with my thoughts and that damned note burning a hole in my pocket. Declan and I had been married for 3 years. He traveled frequently for his tech executive job, including regular trips to the Denver office. But Sarah? He'd never mentioned Sarah. My phone buzzed with a text from him. "Working late tonight. Don't wait up." Something cold settled in my chest as I stared at those 7 words. How many times had I received that exact message over the past few months? I'd always trusted him, attributed his late nights to the promotion he'd been chasing. Now every late meeting and business trip took on a sinister new meaning. The bell above the shop door chimed, and I quickly wiped my eyes. An elderly woman walked in, heading straight for the roses. I watched her carefully select a dozen pink ones, her wedding ring catching the light as she examined each bloom. "Anniversary?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady as I wrapped her flowers. 52 years today," she beamed. "My Harold still brings me flowers every week, but I thought I'd surprise him this time." "That's beautiful," I managed, though my throat felt tight. "He's a lucky man." After she left, I pulled out the note again. The paper was expensive, the kind used in corporate offices. The handwriting was neat but distinctive, definitely a woman's. I took a photo with my phone before carefully refolding it. That evening, I sat at our dining room table until 9, pushing food around my plate. When Declan finally came home, his tie was loose and his hair slightly disheveled. He kissed my cheek, smelling of unfamiliar cologne. "You didn't have to wait up, honey," he said, dropping his briefcase by the door. "You need your rest." "I wanted to," I replied, studying his face. "How was your day?"
Busy.
"The Denver team's giving us trouble with the merger." He loosened his tie further. "Actually, I might need to fly out there next week." My heart skipped a beat. "Denver? Will you be working with Sarah?" The pause was brief, barely a second, but it was enough. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes before he answered. "Sarah? I don't think I know a Sarah in that office." In that moment, watching my husband lie so effortlessly to my face, I realized 2 things. The anonymous note was real, and the man I married was a stranger. As he headed upstairs to shower, I placed a hand over my growing belly and made a silent promise to our child. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I spent the next morning going through old photos on my phone, searching for any hint of Sarah in the background of Declan's work events. My sister Avery sat across from me at her kitchen table, her coffee growing cold as she watched me spiral. "You need to eat something," she said, pushing a plate of toast toward me. "The baby needs more than your anxiety for breakfast." I ignored the toast but rubbed my growing belly absently. "He lied to my face, Ave. About Sarah." I saw it in his eyes. "Men lie about all sorts of things," Avery said, reaching for my phone. "But jumping to conclusions won't help. What else has changed recently?" I thought about it while she scrolled through my photos. The late night started about 3 months ago. New cologne. Private phone calls. God, I'm such a cliché. You're not. Avery stopped scrolling suddenly, her expression changing.
Wait,
Is this from the company Christmas party? She turned the phone to show me a group photo. Declan stood near the edge, his arm around a tall woman with auburn hair. They weren't touching inappropriately, but something about their body language made my stomach turn. That's Sarah, I whispered, recognizing her from her LinkedIn profile that I'd found last night. He said he didn't know her. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Avery went to answer it, and I heard Evelyn's voice in the hallway. My mother-in-law appeared moments later, carrying a casserole dish and wearing a concerned expression. Declan called, she said, setting down the dish.
he's worried about you.
Said you've been acting strange and sleeping at Avery's. Did he mention why I might be upset? I asked, unable to keep the edge from my voice. Evelyn sat down, her perfectly manicured hands folded on the table. No, but I'm not blind, dear. Something's wrong, isn't it? I slid my phone across the table, showing her the Christmas party photo. Do you know her? Evelyn studied the image, her face carefully neutral. Sarah Winters. She's new to the Denver office. She paused, choosing her words carefully. I met her at the Hendersons' anniversary party last month. Declan didn't mention she'd be there. Declan claims he doesn't know her at all. Something flickered across Evelyn's face, disappointment, maybe anger. She opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by my phone buzzing. A text from an unknown number lit up the screen. Check his credit card statements. Dinner for two at La Maison Rouge every Thursday night. My hands shook as I showed the message to Avery and Evelyn. La Maison Rouge was the most expensive French restaurant in the city. Definitely not where Declan's usual business meetings took place. I need to see those statements, I said, standing up. They're in his home office. Calla, wait. Evelyn caught my arm. Let me talk to him first. If what you're suggesting is true. No. I cut her off. I need to know for myself. I drove home in a daze, rehearsing what I'd say if Declan was there. But the house was empty, his car gone from the driveway. In his office, I found the statements easily. He'd never bothered hiding them before. Every Thursday for the past 3 months. La Maison Rouge, $300 plus.
My phone buzzed again.
Another unknown number. Check the jewelry store receipt in his jacket pocket. The one from last week. I froze, remembering the navy blazer he'd worn to work yesterday. It was still draped over his office chair. With trembling fingers, I reached into the pocket and pulled out a crumpled receipt. A diamond bracelet, worth more than I made in 2 months at the flower shop. I'd never received a diamond bracelet. The front door opened downstairs, followed by Declan's footsteps.
Kaya?
Are you home? I stood there, receipt in one hand, credit card statements in the other, as his footsteps approached the office. In that moment, I made a decision. I quickly took photos of everything and slipped the evidence back where I'd found it. There you are, he said from the doorway, smiling that perfect smile that used to make me weaken in ease. What are you doing in here? I forced myself to smile back. Just looking for a pen. My hand unconsciously moved to protect my belly. Actually, I was thinking about dinner. How about La Maison Rouge on Thursday? His smile faltered just for a second, but it was all the confirmation I needed. Thursday night arrived with the weight of inevitability. I sat in my car across from La Maison Rouge, watching the valet parking area through a light drizzle. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white, and the baby kicked restlessly, sensing my tension. Declan's silver Mercedes pulled up right on schedule. I watched him step out, straightening his tie before walking around to open the passenger door. Sarah emerged in a sleek black dress, her hand lingering on his arm as they walked inside. The diamond bracelet sparkled on her wrist. My phone buzzed. Avery, don't do anything crazy. Think of the baby. I texted back, just gathering evidence. But we both knew I was lying. Inside, I gave the maitre d' my name. I'm meeting my husband, Declan Rivers. His eyes widened slightly. Monsieur Rivers? He's already seated with a guest. I know, I said quietly. That's why I'm here. He led me through the restaurant, past candlelit tables and intimate conversations. I spotted them in a corner booth, their heads close together over a bottle of expensive wine. Declan was laughing at something Sarah had said, his hand resting on hers. "Your table, madam," the maitre d' announced loudly. Declan's head snapped up. The color drained from his face as I slid into the booth next to Sarah, who jerked her hand away from his like she'd been burned. "Don't stop on my account," I said, picking up a menu. "The Coq au vin looks amazing. Is that what you usually order here?" "Every Thursday." "Calla," Declan started, his voice strained. "This isn't. We're discussing work." "Really?" I turned to Sarah. "The bracelet was for work too? It looks lovely on you, by the way. Though I imagine it's awkward wearing jewelry from another woman's husband." Sarah stood abruptly, gathering her purse. "I should go." "Please don't," I said, my voice breaking slightly. "I have questions. Like how long you've been sleeping with my husband. Before or after you found out I was pregnant." The restaurant had grown quiet, nearby diners pretending not to watch the drama unfolding. Declan reached across the table, his face a mask of controlled panic. "You're making a scene," he hissed. "Think about my reputation." "Your reputation?" I laughed, the sound hollow. "I'm thinking about our child. The one you apparently forgot about while buying expensive dinners and jewelry for your mistress." Sarah bolted then, leaving her wine glass half full. Declan started to rise, his eyes following her, and something inside me snapped. I grabbed his wine glass and emptied it over his pristine white shirt. "Go ahead," I said. "Chase after her. Show everyone exactly who you are." He sat back down, jaw clenched. "You're being hysterical. This isn't good for the baby." "Don't you dare," I whispered, tears finally spilling. "Don't pretend you care about this baby when you've been—" My voice caught as a sharp pain shot through my abdomen. I gasped, clutching my stomach as another wave hit. Declan's anger turned to alarm.
"Calla?"
"What's wrong?" "I don't." The room started spinning. Something's not right. Through the haze of pain, I heard Declan calling for help. Someone mentioned an ambulance. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was Evelyn rushing through the restaurant doors, her face a storm of fury directed at her son. I woke up in the hospital to the steady beep of monitors and Dr. Lin's concerned face. He explained that stress and elevated blood pressure had caused complications, but the baby was stable for now. Strict bed rest was mandatory. Evelyn sat in the corner, her usual perfect posture rigid with tension. "Declan's in the waiting room," she said quietly. "I told him to stay out until you're ready." "I'll never be ready," I whispered, touching my belly. "How do you face someone who's destroyed everything you believed in?" "You don't," she replied, taking my hand. "You focus on healing. And then you make them face the consequences of their actions." The monitor's steady beeping filled the silence as I closed my eyes, remembering those anonymous notes that had started everything. I still didn't know who sent them, but I was beginning to understand why. Some truths need to be exposed, no matter how painful the revelation. 3 days into my hospital stay, Dr. Lin delivered news that made my heart stop. "The placenta is showing signs of distress," he said, pointing to areas on the ultrasound screen. "Your blood pressure isn't stabilizing the way we'd hoped." I clutched the thin hospital blanket, trying to steady my voice. "What does that mean for the baby?" "It means choices, Calla." He sat on the edge of my bed, his kind face serious. "You need absolute rest and zero stress for the remainder of your pregnancy. That means no work, no confrontations, and definitely no more restaurant incidents." A soft knock interrupted us. Declan stood in the doorway, wearing a fresh suit and carrying a bouquet of roses, store-bought, not from my shop. Dr. Lin excused himself, giving Declan a look I couldn't quite read. "The nurses said you're not eating," Declan said, placing the flowers beside my bed. "Funny how betrayal kills the appetite." He sighed, loosening his tie. "I've been thinking, maybe we should try counseling." "Now you want counseling?" I laughed bitterly. "After I end up in the hospital?" "I want to fix this," he said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. Fix what, exactly? The affair? The lies? Or just your public image? Before he could answer, my phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. Check his email. Password is Sarah's birthday, 0517. My heart raced as I deleted the message. Declan was watching me closely. Who was that? Avery, I lied. She's bringing me some things from home. He nodded, but something in his expression changed. I need to get back to the office. Graham called an emergency meeting about the Denver merger. After he left, I pulled out my laptop. My hands shook as I typed in his email password. It worked. Dozens of emails between him and Sarah filled the screen, dating back 6 months. They were careful, using coded language about project deadlines and client meetings, but some messages were more explicit. Plans for a weekend getaway. Photos. Promises. A new email notification popped up from Graham Henderson to all senior staff. My blood ran cold as I read it. Effective immediately, all Denver office operations will be relocated to our Singapore branch. Staff transfers will be finalized by end of month. Another message appeared below it, from Sarah to Declan. We need to talk. Now. I was still staring at the screen when Evelyn arrived. One look at my face, and she closed the door behind her. What did he do now? I turned the laptop toward her. She read in silence, her expression hardening. Singapore, she finally said. He was planning to leave. The baby and I were just inconvenient obstacles. My voice cracked. He never wanted this family. Evelyn's phone rang. Graham Henderson's name flashed on the screen. She answered on speaker. Evelyn, is Calla with you? She needs to hear this. I'm here, I said. I just fired your husband, Graham said without preamble. The board discovered he's been falsifying reports to cover unauthorized expenses. The Denver merger was his excuse to embezzle company funds. The monitor beside my bed started beeping faster as my blood pressure spiked. How long? Evelyn demanded. At least 6 months. Sarah Winters was helping him hide the transactions. They're both being investigated. Dr. Lin rushed in, alarmed by the monitors. He took one look at my vitals and ordered everyone out. Wait, I called to Graham. Who sent the anonymous notes? Who exposed them? There was a pause on the line. That would be my wife. She oversees all executive expenses. When she saw the pattern, the rest of his words faded as Dr. Lin injected something into my fore. As consciousness slipped away, I heard him telling Evelyn they might need to consider early delivery if my condition didn't improve. In my last moments of awareness, I realized something important. Revenge wasn't going to save my baby. I needed to let go of Declan's betrayal and focus on survival, not just for me, but for the innocent life depending on my choices. The monitors slowly steadied as I made my decision. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Some victories come from walking away. 2 weeks after being released from the hospital, I found myself standing in our walk-in closet, staring at the dress Declan had insisted I wear to tonight's company gala. Despite Dr. Lin's orders for bed rest, Declan had been relentless about my attendance. It's crucial for appearances, he'd said that morning. The board needs to see we're still a united front. The dress was new, emerald green silk that probably cost more than a week's worth of flower shop revenue. A peace offering, or maybe just another attempt to control the narrative. My phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. Sarah will be there tonight. So will the FBI. I deleted the message just as Declan appeared in the doorway. You're not dressed yet? I shouldn't be going at all, I said, one hand resting on my expanded belly. Dr. Lin was clear about Dash. Dr. Lin doesn't understand what's at stake. Declan's voice was tight, controlled. 2 hours. That's all I'm asking. Then you can come home and rest. The way he said home made something twist inside me. This house hadn't felt like home since the first note appeared in my flower shop. At the gala, Declan kept his hand firmly on my lower back, steering me through crowds of executives and their spouses. Their smiles felt practiced, their eyes calculating. Everyone knew about his firing, about the investigation, but nobody dared mention it. Mrs. Rivers, Graham Henderson appeared beside us, his wife Patricia close behind. "You look lovely tonight. Though I must say, I'm surprised to see you here given your condition." Declan's hand tightened on my back. "We wouldn't miss it. In fact, I was hoping to discuss Dash." "I don't believe we have anything to discuss." Graham cut him off coldly. "Patricia, why don't you show Calla to the terrace? Some fresh air might do her good." Before Declan could object, Patricia led me away. Outside, the night air was cool against my flushed skin. "The agents are already here," Patricia said quietly, nodding toward two men in dark suits by the bar. "They're waiting for Sarah to arrive." She agreed to turn state's evidence. My legs wobbled. Patricia guided me to a chair. "You knew," I whispered. "You sent the notes." She squeezed my hand. "I've seen too many good people destroyed by men like Declan." When I found the discrepancies, the terrace doors burst open. Sarah strode out, her face pale but determined. Behind her, Declan looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Tell her," Sarah demanded, her voice shaking. "Tell your wife what you promised me." Declan stepped forward, his facade cracking. "Sarah, don't dash. He said you lost the baby." Sarah turned to me, tears in her eyes. "He said you had a miscarriage months ago, but were pretending to still be pregnant to trap him. That's why he needed the money, to start over with me in Singapore." The world tilted. Through the roaring in my ears, I heard gasps from the growing crowd of onlookers. The FBI agents moved closer. "Is that what you told everyone?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "That I'm crazy? Faking a pregnancy while you played the sympathetic husband?" "Calla, I can explain Dash." "Mr. Rivers." One of the agents stepped forward. "We need you to come with us." Everything happened fast after that. Declan trying to run, the agents catching him, Sarah crying as she handed over documents, Graham making statements to the press gathering outside. Through it all, I sat perfectly still, one hand pressed against my very real, very active baby, who chose that moment to kick hard enough to make me gasp. Evelyn appeared with my coat and car keys. "Let's get you home, dear." "Not that house," I said, standing carefully. "I can't go back there." She nodded, understanding. "Then we'll go somewhere new. Somewhere you can both heal." As we left through a side entrance, I caught a glimpse of Declan being led to a waiting car, handcuffed and defeated. Our eyes met briefly. In that moment, I realized something important. Revenge hadn't brought me peace, but the truth had set me free. My baby kicked again, stronger this time. A survivor's kick. Like mother, like child. The morning after the gala, I sat in Graham Henderson's office, watching him review security footage from the company's parking garage. On the screen, Declan and Sarah hurriedly loaded boxes into his car 3 nights before the arrest. "Financial records, offshore account details," Graham explained, pausing the video. "They were planning to destroy everything before the FBI caught up with them." I touched my belly, feeling sick. "How much did he steal?" "Nearly $4 million. Graham slid a folder across his desk. "But that's not why I asked you here. These are the texts between Declan and the board members." My hands shook as I read messages where Declan had systematically painted me as unstable, delusional. He'd convinced everyone I'd lost the baby months ago but couldn't accept it, claiming my mental state was why he needed to handle all our finances. "He was setting me up," I whispered. "If everything went wrong, you'd be the perfect scapegoat." Graham's voice was gentle. "A grieving, mentally unstable wife who forged his signatures while he tried to protect you." The baby kicked hard, as if protesting the lie. A sharp pain followed, making me gasp.
"Calla?"
Graham stood, concerned. "Should I call Dr. Lin?" "I'm fine," I lied, but another pain hit, stronger this time. Within minutes, I was in an ambulance, Evelyn holding my hand while paramedics monitored my vitals. Dr. Lin met us at the hospital, his face grim as he reviewed the readings. "The stress has triggered early labor," he said. "We need to stop it. You're only at 30 weeks." Hours passed in a blur of medications and monitors. Avery arrived, then Patricia Henderson. Through the haze of pain and fear, I heard them discussing Declan's bail hearing. He's claiming temporary insanity, Evelyn said quietly. His lawyer wants Calla's medical records to prove she's unstable. He can't, Avery protested. After everything he's done, another contraction silenced their conversation. Dr. Lin checked the monitors, shaking his head. The medications aren't working, he announced. We need to prepare for delivery. It's too soon, I pleaded, panic rising. The baby's not ready. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. If we wait. The rest of his words faded as reality crashed in. This was Declan's final betrayal, not just destroying our marriage or my reputation, but potentially our child's chance at a healthy life. A nurse appeared with admission papers. As I signed them, she handed me an envelope. This came for you, at the front desk. Inside was a familiar piece of white paper, but this note wasn't anonymous. I'm sorry for my part in all this. I never knew about the baby. He told me so many lies. Sarah. The paper crumpled in my fist as another contraction hit. Through the window, I could see reporters gathering outside the hospital. Someone had leaked the story. Don't let them in, I gasped. Don't let them turn this into another headline. Nobody's getting past me, Avery promised, her voice fierce. You focus on my niece or nephew. Dr. Lin started preparing for the emergency C-section. As they wheeled me towards surgery, Evelyn stopped us. Graham just called, she said. Declan made bail. His lawyer's requesting an emergency hearing about custody, claiming you're not fit. The monitor screamed as my blood pressure spiked again. Dr. Lin ordered everyone out, shouting for additional medication. In that moment, lying there while they rushed to save my baby, I realized how completely Declan had orchestrated my destruction. Even from jail, he was still trying to control the narrative, to paint me as the villain in his story. Stay with us, Calla, Dr. Lin urged as my vision began to blur. Your baby needs you to fight.
Fight.
That's what I've been doing since the first note appeared in my flower shop. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about survival. For me, for my child, for the truth itself. As they pushed me into surgery, I made one final promise to my baby. We would write our own story, and Declan wouldn't be the author of either of our fates. 3 days after my emergency C-section, I woke to find Evelyn sitting beside my hospital bed, her face drawn with worry. My daughter, Rose, was still in the NICU, fighting for every breath, but getting stronger each day. Declan's here, Evelyn said quietly. He's demanding to see the baby. I tried to sit up, wincing at the pain from my incision. He can't dash. I know. Security's keeping him in the waiting room, but... She hesitated. There's something you need to know about my son. She pulled out an old photograph, a young Declan, maybe 7, standing between 2 adults I didn't recognize. His foster parents, Evelyn explained. Before I adopted him. They were embezzlers too, convinced Declan to help them forge documents. When they were caught, they abandoned him, claimed he'd tricked them. The pieces started falling into place. That's why he tried to frame me? He repeats patterns when he's scared. But that doesn't excuse Dash. A commotion outside interrupted her. Declan burst in, followed by security guards and Avery, who looked ready for war. Where is she? He demanded. Where's my daughter? Sir, you need to leave. A guard started, but I held up my hand. Let him stay. The room cleared except for Evelyn, who stood protectively beside my bed. Declan looked terrible, unshaven, suit wrinkled, eyes wild. The lawyers say I have rights, he said. You can't keep her from me. Rights? My voice shook. Like my right to a safe pregnancy? My right not to be gaslight and betrayed. I never meant. He ran his hands through his disheveled hair. Everything just spiraled. Sarah, the money, the lies. I couldn't stop. Like your foster parents couldn't stop? He flinched as if I'd struck him. Mother, what did you tell her? The truth, Evelyn said firmly. Something you should try sometime. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Rivers? Your daughter's oxygen levels are improving. Would you like to see her? Declan stepped forward, but I shook my head. My name is McBride now, and only I'm going to see her. She's my child too. His composure cracked. You can't erase me like they did. No one's erasing you, Declan, I said quietly. You did that yourself. Every lie, every betrayal, every attempt to make me look crazy, those were your choices. I'll fight you for custody, he threatened, but his voice wavered. With what? I asked. Your embezzlement charges? Your documented attempts to frame me? The text messages to the board calling me mentally unstable. He slumped against the wall, the fight draining from him. I don't know how to fix this. Start by fixing yourself, Evelyn said. Turn yourself in, take responsibility. Show your daughter who you really are, not who you're pretending to be. A soft knock interrupted us. Dr. Lynn stood in the doorway with Graham Henderson and 2 FBI agents. Time to go, Mr. Rivers, one agent said. Your bail's been revoked. As they led him away, Declan turned back. Her middle name, he said softly. Could it be Evelyn? After the only parent who never gave up on me? I looked at his mother, saw the tears in her eyes, and nodded. Not for him, but for the woman who'd chosen to love an abandoned child, who'd stood by me when that child lost his way. Rose Evelyn McBride, I said. A name with both roots and new beginnings. After he was gone, I let the nurse wheel me to the NICU. Through the incubator glass, I watched my daughter's tiny chest rise and fall, each breath of victory. You're nothing like them, Evelyn said, touching the glass. Either set of parents. You chose truth over revenge, strength over bitterness. I placed my hand over hers. We all have patterns, don't we? The trick is knowing which ones to break. In the quiet beeping of the NICU monitors, I found peace in that broken pattern. In the knowledge that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go of the past to protect the future. 6 months after Rose came home from the NICU, I reopened my flower shop. The morning sun streamed through the windows as I arranged fresh peonies, the same flowers that had held that first anonymous note so long ago. Those are pretty, Avery said, bouncing Rose on her hip. My daughter's laugh, still new and precious, filled the shop. But maybe we should stick with roses, given her name? I smiled, touching a soft peony petal. Sometimes beautiful things can bring painful memories and hope at the same time. The bell chimed as Patricia Henderson entered, carrying a familiar white envelope. This came to our office, she said, handing it to me. Declan's lawyer asked us to forward it. I'd heard he'd taken a plea deal, was serving time while attending intensive therapy. The envelope felt heavy in my hands. You don't have to read it, Avery said quietly. But I did. I needed to know how this story ended. Inside was a letter, along with legal documents signing away his parental rights. His handwriting was different, less controlled, more honest somehow.
Calla.
The therapist says I should start with the truth. So here it is. I was terrified of becoming my foster parents. Every lie I told, every betrayal, was me running from their shadow. But in trying to escape their pattern, I created my own. Rose deserves better than a father who might repeat that cycle. She deserves the strength and honesty you've shown. I'm signing away my rights not because I don't love her, but because I love her enough to protect her from my demons while I learn to fight them. Take care of our daughter. Tell her whatever truth you think is right when she's older. And know that despite everything I did, you are always stronger than any lie I could tell. Declan. Evelyn arrived as I finished reading, carrying coffee and pastries. She'd been my rock these past months, proving that family isn't always about blood or broken promises. He's doing the work, she said, seeing the letter in my hands. Real work this time. I know, I replied, watching Rose grab at a sunflower with tiny, determined fingers. But some breaks can't be unbroken. The morning crowd began trickling in, regular customers who'd stood by me through the scandal. New faces drawn by the story of renewal in the local paper. I helped them choose flowers for celebrations, apologies, fresh starts. Graham Henderson stopped by later, not for flowers but with news. Sarah's testimony helped recover most of the stolen funds. The board voted to establish a trust for Rose's education.
You didn't have to do that, I said.
No, he agreed. But sometimes justice looks like giving someone a future untainted by the past. As the day wound down, I sat at my workbench, designing arrangements for a wedding. Rose slept peacefully in her carrier, surrounded by the scent of flowers and new beginnings. Avery had gone home, but Evelyn lingered, arranging roses with surprising skill. "You know," she said, "healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means growing something new from broken ground." I looked around my shop, at the flowers that had held the first warning, at the daughter who emerged from the final crisis, at the chosen family who helped me survive it all. The desire for revenge had faded, replaced by something stronger, the peace of choosing my own path. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for showing me that patterns can be broken. S." I deleted Sarah's message without responding. Some chapters need to stay closed, even as new ones begin. Rose stirred, reaching up with perfect tiny fingers. As I lifted her, a peony petal drifted down, landing in her open palm. She clutched it, not destroying but holding, teaching me one final lesson about beauty and strength. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even or dealing justice. Sometimes it's about proving that broken things can bloom again, different but whole, in gardens of their own making. I tucked the petal into my daughter's baby book, marking not an ending, but a continuation, our story, growing wild and free, exactly as it should.
The first guest to check into my hotel on that Tuesday was a dead man. Not literally dead, not yet, but looking back, I realised that's exactly what Ryan Carter was. A walking ghost who'd come to haunt every corner of my life. I watched him sign the register with practiced flourishes, his Mont Blanc pen dancing across the paper. My hotel, the Thompson, wasn't the kind of place that usually attracted men in $3,000 suits and hand-stitched Italian leather shoes. We were boutique, yes, but more vintage charm than modern luxury. "Beautiful restoration work," he said, gesturing to the original crown moulding. "You don't see this kind of attention to detail anymore. I'm Eva, and I've spent the last decade restoring this place to its former glory. It was my parents' legacy before the accident, and now it's mine." "Thank you." The moulding nearly bankrupted me, but I couldn't bear to see it replaced with something modern. His smile reached his eyes. I'll give him credit for that. Later, I'd learn how he practiced those smiles in mirrors, perfecting every crinkle. Sometimes the most expensive choice is the only right choice. He leaned in slightly, cologne, subtle but expensive. "I'm in town for a few weeks. Any chance you'd let me buy you dinner? I'd love to hear more about the restoration." I should have said no. Should have seen how his interest was too perfect, too practiced. But loneliness is a hell of a drug, and I'd been sober for far too long. "I don't typically have dinner with guests," I said, but I was already reaching for his keycard. Already imagining how the story would sound when I told my sister Lily about the handsome stranger who'd swept me off my feet. "I respect that completely." He stepped back, hands raised in playful surrender. "How about after I check out? Then I'm just another admirer of fine architecture and beautiful hotel managers." I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, hating myself for being so easily charmed. "Maybe. We'll see how well you treat my hotel." Challenge accepted. He took the keycard, his fingers brushing mine. "Room 412, was it? The corner suite with the bay windows. Best view in the house." "I doubt that," he said, eyes locked on mine. I watched him walk to the elevator, wheeling his expensive luggage behind him. My phone buzzed. Lily, right on cue. She had a sixth sense for drama. "You'll never believe who just checked in," I said, answering before the second ring. "Tell me everything," she demanded. "Is he gorgeous? Rich? Single?" "All of the above, apparently." I lowered my voice as another guest approached the desk. "Dinner at Marco's tonight? I'll fill you in." God, yes. Finally, something interesting happens in this town. If only we'd known what kind of interesting was walking into our lives. If only I'd noticed how he'd known about the bay windows in 412 before I mentioned them. If only I'd wondered why a man who could afford the Four Seasons chose my modest hotel instead. But that's the thing about perfect moments. They're usually perfectly orchestrated. Ryan Carter had spent months planning his entrance into my life, studying my habits, learning my weaknesses. By the time he signed that register, He knew more about me than most of my friends. I just didn't know I was already cast in his latest production, playing the role of both Mark and unwitting accomplice. The script was written, the stage was set, and I'd just given my first performance without even knowing the show had begun. Looking back, I should have trusted my instincts when Grace, my best friend and event planner, called later that afternoon. "Eva, honey, you're not going to believe who I just got off the phone with. Ryan Carter's assistant. They want to book the entire hotel for a wedding next month." "What?" I gripped the phone tighter. "He just checked in an hour ago." "Exactly," Grace said, her voice tight with concern. "Don't you think that's a little strange?" Strange didn't begin to cover it, but by then the curtain was already rising on Act 1, and I was about to learn just how expensive the right choices could really be. Marco's was packed that night, but Lily was already at our usual corner booth, phone in hand, perfectly styled as always. The difference between us was stark, me still in my work clothes, her looking like she'd stepped out of an Instagram post. Sometimes I wondered if we really were sisters. "He's even better looking in person," Lily said, eyes fixed over my shoulder. I turned to see Ryan entering the restaurant and my stomach dropped. This wasn't coincidence. He'd known exactly where to find us. "Eva," he called out, making his way over. "What a pleasant surprise." Lily's face lit up like a Christmas tree. "You must be the mysterious new guest. I'm Lily, Eva's sister. Ryan Carter." He slid into our booth without invitation, right next to Lily. "Eva didn't mention she had such a charming sister." I watched them interact, feeling like I was witnessing a car crash in slow motion. Lily laughed too loud at his jokes, touched his arm too often. Ryan matched her energy perfectly, but his eyes kept darting to me, gauging my reaction. "So, what brings you to our little town?" I asked, cutting through their flirtation. "Business opportunities. Your hotel, actually. I'm thinking of investing in similar properties." He pulled out his phone, showing us photos of restored historic buildings. "I've done several projects like this in Boston." Lily leaned in closer. "That's amazing. Eva's been trying to expand for years, but the banks won't take the risk." I shot her a look. We didn't discuss business matters with strangers, especially not my financial struggles. But Lily was already continuing. "You should see her proposal. She's got this whole vision for turning the old Morrison building into a sister hotel." "Lily?" My voice came out sharper than intended. "What?" He could help. "God knows you need it after that last rejection." Ryan watched our exchange with careful interest. "I'd love to see the proposal, Eva. Maybe we could discuss it over dinner tomorrow." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Grace's text made my blood run cold. "Did background check. No record of Ryan Carter's company in Boston. Call me Asa P." "I should really keep business and pleasure separate," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Smart woman." Ryan smiled, but something shifted in his eyes. "Though sometimes the best opportunities come from mixing the two." "Eva's always been the careful one," Lily said, rolling her eyes. "Me, I believe in taking chances." "Speaking of chances," Ryan turned to her, "I'm hosting a small gathering at my suite tomorrow evening. Nothing fancy, just drinks and conversation. You should both come." "We'd love to," Lily answered before I could decline. "Actually, I have inventory tomorrow night," I lied, standing up, "and Lily has an early shift at the cafe." "I can switch shifts," Lily protested, but I was already gathering my things. "Another time, perhaps," Ryan said smoothly. "Though I hope you'll reconsider, Eva. Sometimes the best decisions are made outside office hours." Walking home later, Lily wouldn't stop talking about him. "He's perfect for you, Eva. Successful, interested in the same things." "He's not what he seems," I cut in, showing her Grace's text. Lily scoffed. "Grace is just being overprotective. Not everyone has ulterior motives." "You barely know him. And you barely know how to live." She stopped walking, turning to face me. "Ever since Mom and Dad died, you've done nothing but work and worry. Maybe it's time you took a risk." "Maybe it's time you grew up," I snapped back, instantly regretting it. Lily's face hardened. "I'm going to that gathering tomorrow night, with or without you." I watched her storm off, heels clicking against the pavement. My phone buzzed again, another text from Grace. "Found something else. Ryan Carter's brother Mason just filed for bankruptcy protection. Family business gone under. Be careful. The pieces were starting to fit together, but not in any way I liked. Ryan wasn't here by chance, and my sister was walking right into whatever game he was playing. I pulled up my hotel's security app, checking the cameras. Ryan was in the lobby, on his phone, looking far too pleased with himself. Tomorrow night's gathering suddenly seemed like an opportunity I couldn't afford to miss. Sometimes the best way to protect what's yours is to walk straight into the trap. As long as you're the one holding the trigger, the numbers didn't lie. I stared at my laptop screen, cross-referencing the hotel's transaction records with the documents Grace had sent over. Every night since Ryan checked in, there had been a surge of credit card activity. Not just in the rooms he'd booked, but throughout the hotel. Small charges spread across different cards, all just under the reporting threshold. My phone lit up with Lily's text. Having breakfast with Ryan. He has amazing ideas for the Morrison Building renovation. The Morrison Building. My dream project, now being dangled like bait. I clicked through another set of transactions, my hands shaking. The pattern was clear. Ryan wasn't just staying at my hotel, he was using it. You should see this, Grace said, walking into my office without knocking. She dropped a stack of papers on my desk. Remember those Boston properties he showed you? They're all in foreclosure. The Carter family business is underwater, and Ryan's brother Mason is trying to salvage what's left. Does Lily know? Lily won't listen to anyone right now. She thinks she's in love. I pulled up the security cameras. Ryan and Lily were in the hotel restaurant, heads close together over Sophie. He was showing her something on his phone, and she was nodding enthusiastically. The same way I probably looked when he first showed me those fake investment properties. We need to talk to Mason, Grace said. No, I closed my laptop. First, I need to hear Ryan explain these transactions himself. I found him in the bar that evening, nursing a whiskey. Lily was nowhere in sight. Small mercies. Eva, he smiled, that practiced smile. I was just thinking about you. Funny how that works. I sat down, sliding a printout across the bar. I was thinking about you too. And these unusual patterns in our credit card transactions. His expression didn't change, but his knuckles whitened around his glass. You know how corporate expenses work. Sometimes things need to be structured creatively. Creative like your Boston properties? The ones in foreclosure? Now the smile faltered. You've been checking up on me. You're using my hotel for money laundering, Ryan. The question is why? You're making dangerous accusations. His voice dropped, all charm vanishing. Accusations that could hurt a lot of people, including Lily. My blood ran cold. Leave my sister out of this. She's already in it. She signed the partnership papers this morning. Didn't she tell you? She's investing her inheritance in our venture. The room spun. Lily's inheritance, the money our parents left her, the money I'd been managing until she turned 30. She'd been asking about accessing it early. You son of a bitch. Business is business, Eva. Your hotel's perfect, established, respectable, just under the radar. We could help each other. Or, he shrugged, things could get complicated. They already are. I stood up, fighting to keep my voice steady. You have 24 hours to check out. You might want to discuss that with your new partner first. He finished his whiskey. Lily's quite excited about our plans. It would be a shame to disappoint her. I walked away before I could do something stupid, like throw his whiskey in his face. In the lobby, my phone buzzed with an email notification. Lily had requested an emergency transfer of funds to a new business account. The paperwork was already filed. Grace was waiting in my office. Mason Carter called back. He wants to meet. Too late. I showed her the transfer request. Ryan's already got what he wanted, access to clean money through a legitimate business. What are you going to do? I looked at the security feed again. Ryan was still at the bar, now on his phone, probably moving pieces into place. He thought he had me cornered. The protective sister, the cautious businesswoman, too afraid of scandal to fight back. But he'd made one crucial mistake. The Thompson Hotel wasn't just my business. It was my parents' legacy. And I'd learned long ago that sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to burn everything else to the ground. Call Mason back, I said. Tell him to meet us tomorrow, and Grace, bring everything you've found. It's time to show Ryan Carter what creative accounting really looks like. Mason Carter looked nothing like his brother. Where Ryan was all polished charm, Mason carried himself with the worn-down dignity of someone who'd spent years cleaning up other people's messes. We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the hotel, far enough that Ryan wouldn't accidentally spot us. The money laundering started small, Mason said, spreading documents across the table. Family business was failing. Ryan promised he could save it. By the time I realized what he was doing, we were in too deep. Grace studied the papers, her event planner's eye for detail catching what others might miss. These transactions matched the patterns we found at the hotel. He's done this before, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Mason's laugh was bitter. The Thompson Hotel is his 4th attempt. The others... He slid over a newspaper clipping. 3 historic hotels, all foreclosed within months of Ryan's involvement. My phone buzzed. Lily again. I ignored it, but Mason noticed. He's good at finding pressure points, people's weaknesses. My sister isn't weak, I snapped. No, but she wants something. Ryan's excellent at spotting what people want. He pulled out another document. Like this proposal for the Morrison building renovation. It's brilliant, isn't it? Exactly what you've been dreaming of. I stared at the familiar plans. My plans repackaged with Ryan's company letterhead. He stole this from my office. Probably while Lily was distracting you, Grace said quietly. The night of the gathering. My phone buzzed again. This time, I looked. A photo from Lily, her and Ryan at the Morrison building, hard hats on, champagne in hand. Breaking ground next week, the caption read. Dreams do come true. He can't break ground, I said. He doesn't own. Check the county records, Mason interrupted. See, as of this morning, Carter Developments owns the Morrison building, purchased with capital from their newest partner. My sister's inheritance. Our parents' legacy, handed over to a con man because I'd been too slow, too cautious, too afraid to act. Why are you helping us? Grace asked Mason. He's your brother. Because next time he won't stop at bankruptcy. Someone's going to get hurt or worse. Mason gathered his papers. But I never had this conversation with you. Ryan's dangerous when he's cornered. So am I said. But Mason was already walking away, leaving behind one final document, a USB drive labelled Carter Family Financial Records. Back at the hotel, Lily was waiting in my office. Why aren't you answering my calls? This is important, Eva. The Morrison project is happening. With what money, Lily? Your inheritance? The money Mom and Dad left to secure your future? To secure our future, she corrected. Ryan showed me the numbers. We could triple our investment in 18 months. Like he tripled investments at these hotels? I pulled up the newspaper articles Mason had shared. All bankrupted, all under investigation for fraud. That's not... He explained those. They were timing issues, market conditions. He's using you to get to me, to get to this hotel. God, you're so paranoid. Lily slammed her hand on my desk. Not everyone is trying to hurt us. Some people actually want to help us succeed. Like Ryan helped his other partners succeed. I played the security footage from the bar, his threat about Lily still clear in the audio. She watched, face paling. That's not... He was just protecting our investment. No, he was protecting his scheme. And you handed him everything he needed to destroy us. Lily's phone chimed. Ryan, of course. She looked at it, then at me, tears welling up. You're wrong about him, I'll prove it. She ran out before I could stop her. Through my office window, I watched her cross the lobby, straight into Ryan's waiting arms. He looked up, caught my eye, and smiled that perfect, practiced smile. I plugged Mason's USB drive into my computer. If Ryan wanted to play with family legacies, fine. But he'd forgotten something crucial about the Thompson sisters. We learned about revenge at our father's knee, watching him build this hotel empire one calculated risk at a time. Time to show Ryan Carter what a real calculated risk looks like. The Morrison building groundbreaking ceremony felt like watching my own funeral. I stood at the back of the crowd, Grace beside me, as Ryan worked the room like a master conductor. Lily sparkled at his side, playing the role of adoring partner perfectly. The Thompson Carter vision represents more than just renovation, Ryan announced to the gathered investors. It's about family legacy, about trust, about building something lasting together. My fingers tightened around the USB drive in my pocket. Mason's data had revealed everything. The shell companies, the laundered money, the pattern of destruction left in Ryan's wake. But it also showed something worse. Lily's signature on documents she couldn't possibly understand, making her legally complicit in his schemes. "You okay?" Grace whispered. I nodded, watching Ryan guide Lily toward the ceremonial shovel. They looked perfect together, both glowing with anticipated triumph. My sister hadn't spoken to me in days, not since our fight in my office. "And now," Ryan continued, "I'd like to invite Eva Thompson to join us. After all, this project wouldn't exist without her original vision." The crowd turned, expecting me to step forward. Ryan's smile was razor-sharp, daring me to make a scene. He knew I wouldn't risk exposing him here, not with Lily's future on the line. I walked to the podium, accepted the second shovel he offered. "Thank you, Ryan. You're right. Family legacy is everything. His eyes narrowed slightly at my tone. I turned to the crowd, gripping the shovel like a weapon. "Which is why I'm pleased to announce that the Thompson Hotel will be partnering exclusively with Carter Development's parent company for all future projects." Ryan's practiced smile flickered. Behind him I saw Grace slip away from the crowd. Right on cue. "In fact," I continued, "I've already submitted the paperwork to the board. They were particularly interested in the company's financial records." The blood drained from Ryan's face. He knew exactly which records I meant, the ones Mason had provided, the ones Grace was delivering to the board right now. "Eva," Lily stepped forward, confusion clouding her features. "What are you doing?" "Protecting our legacy." I turned back to the crowd. "If you'll excuse me, I have an urgent meeting with the hotel board. I'm sure Ryan can handle the rest of the ceremony." I walked away, counting steps. 3, 4, 5. "Eva," Ryan's voice carried across the lot. "A word?" We met halfway between the crowd and the street, his charm replaced by barely contained fury. "Whatever you think you're doing, I'm doing exactly what you taught me, Ryan. Making calculated risks. You have no idea what you're risking," he hissed. "That USB drive, Mason had no right. Mason's not the only one who kept records." I pulled out my phone, showed him the screen. "Remember that night in the bar when you threatened my sister? Hotel security cameras catch everything." His mask slipped completely then, showing the desperate man beneath. "You'll destroy her too. Those documents she signed are void as of an hour ago. The board's lawyers found some interesting irregularities in the filing dates." Lily appeared beside us, her face pale. "What documents? Ryan, what is she talking about?" "Nothing, sweetheart. Just business details." "Show her," I cut in. "Show her the real contracts she signed. The ones that would have made her liable when everything fell apart." Ryan reached for Lily's arm, but she stepped back. For the first time, I saw doubt in my sister's eyes. "The groundbreaking," Ryan said quickly. "We need to finish." "Is cancelled," Grace called out, walking back from the hotel. "The board sends their regrets, and the police send their regards." The crowd was dispersing now, investors muttering among themselves. Ryan's perfect ceremony was unravelling thread by thread. "You're bluffing," he said, but his eyes darted toward his car. "Am I?" I stepped closer. "Run if you want. But remember, I learned about revenge from the best. You." He backed away, mask completely shattered. Lily stood between us, tears streaming down her face as she finally saw the truth. The sirens started in the distance, growing closer. Ryan turned and ran, leaving everything behind. The ceremony, the schemes, my sister. I reached for Lily's hand. She flinched but didn't pull away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know." I squeezed her hand, watching Ryan's figure disappear around the corner. "Let's go home." The real work, healing our family, rebuilding trust, was just beginning. But at least now we could face it together, without any more perfect lies standing between us. 3 days after Ryan disappeared, I found Lily unconscious in her apartment, an empty bottle of sleeping pills beside her. The note simply read, "I'm sorry I ruined everything. Now I sit in the hospital waiting room, my hands shaking as I scroll through the messages flooding my phone. The hotel board wants an emergency meeting. The police need another statement. Grace keeps sending updates about the media circus gathering outside the Thompson. Miss Thompson," a detective appears, notebook in hand. "We need to discuss the documents your sister signed." She didn't know, I say automatically, the same words I've repeated for days. Ryan manipulated her. The evidence suggests otherwise. He slides over a photo, Lily and Ryan at a bank, both smiling as they signed papers. These transfers were made weeks before the Morrison project. My chest tightens. That's impossible, the timeline. Shows your sister was an active participant in Mr. Carter's financial schemes, unless you have evidence proving otherwise. I think of Mason's USB drive now in police custody. The records that saved me might damn Lily. My revenge against Ryan could cost my sister everything. Grace appears, face drawn. "Eva, the board's here. They're talking about forcing a sale." "They can't. They can if they prove the hotel was used for money laundering, with or without your knowledge." The detective watches this exchange with interest. "Anything you'd like to add to your statement, Miss Thompson?" The hospital room door opens before I can respond. The doctor's expression tells me everything before she speaks. "We've stabilized her, but—" I push past them all, needing to see Lily. She looks small in the hospital bed, tubes snaking from her arms. The sister I tried so desperately to protect, now broken by my need for revenge. "You should have told me." Mason's voice makes me jump. He stands in the doorway looking as haunted as I feel. "About Lily's involvement. I could have helped." "Like you helped by giving me those records?" My laugh sounds hollow. "Your evidence might send her to prison." "Ryan called me." Mason steps closer, voice low. "He's willing to make a deal. He'll take full responsibility, claim he forged Lily's signatures, if you drop the charges and sell him the hotel. He's lying, probably. But right now he's offering you a choice, your hotel or your sister." Through the window I can see reporters gathering. The Thompson Hotel scandal grows by the hour. The perfect revenge story turning into a nightmare. My phone buzzes again, an email from the board. They've called an emergency vote for tomorrow. Without my parents controlling shares which I signed over to Lily months ago as part of her inheritance, I can't stop them. "Time's running out," Mason says quietly. "Ryan's flight leaves tonight. After that, his offer dies, and Lily faces the consequences." I look at my sister, remembering her as a child, always following me around the hotel, dreaming of making it grander. Now those dreams might destroy us both. He planned this, I realize. From the beginning. The hotel, Lily, all of it. I thought I was destroying him, but he's still playing the game, Mason finishes. "Question is, are you willing to lose everything to win?" Grace appears with coffee I didn't ask for. "Board's getting restless. They want an answer about the sale." I take the coffee, letting its heat burn my palms. The pain helps me think. Ryan calculated everything except one detail. He assumed I'd choose between my sister and my hotel. I pull out my phone, dialing a number I memorized from Mason's files. "Hello, Mr. Chen. This is Eva Thompson. I believe you lost some money in one of Ryan Carter's previous ventures. I have a proposition for you." Mason's eyes widen as he realizes what I'm doing. "Ava, wait!" But I'm already speaking, trading the last piece of my soul for one final shot at salvation. Sometimes, to save everything, you have to be willing to lose it all first. The game isn't over. It's just becoming something darker than even Ryan imagined. The private terminal at the airport was empty except for Ryan, his perfectly tailored suit now wrinkled from hours of waiting. I watched through the glass as he checked his phone again, probably wondering why his escape plane hadn't arrived. "He's alone," Grace confirmed through my earpiece. "Lily's documents are ready." I pushed through the door, the click of my heels echoing across polished floors. Ryan's head snapped up, relief washing over his face. "Eva, I knew you'd make the right choice." "Did you?" I placed a manila envelope on the seat between us. "The hotel's transfer papers as requested." He reached for them, but I held up my hand. "First, sign these." I slid over another set of documents. Confession of fraud, absolving Lily of any involvement. Of course. His smile was genuine. He thought he'd won. I meant what I said. I never wanted to hurt her. No, you just wanted to use her to hurt me. Business is business. He started signing without reading, confident in his victory. You understand that now, don't you? Sometimes we have to sacrifice the things we love. Like your brother sacrificed everything for you? Ryan's pen paused. Mason made his choices. He did, starting with that USB drive he gave me. I watched his face carefully. But he wasn't the only one keeping records, was he, Mr. Chen? The door opened behind me. Ryan's face went ash-white as James Chen walked in, flanked by federal agents. The thing about revenge, Ryan, I said quietly, is that your old victims are often happy to help destroy you, and you can't. He grabbed for the hotel transfer papers, but I pulled them back. Those? They're fake? Just like the confession you just signed. I smiled his own practiced smile back at him. Business is business, right? The hotel board, already voted this morning. Turns out Mr. Chen bought enough shares to swing the decision. Your previous victims were very generous once they learned they could help take you down. Ryan lunged for the door, but the agents were faster. As they read him his rights, I saw Mason step out of the shadows. I'm sorry, brother, Mason said softly, but someone had to stop you. You betrayed me? Ryan struggled against the handcuffs. For her? No. Mason met my eyes. For all of us you destroyed along the way. I walked over to Ryan close enough to see the desperation in his eyes. You were right about one thing. Sometimes we have to sacrifice the things we love. I pulled out my phone, showed him the live feed from the Thompson Hotel. Like your reputation. On the screen, reporters swarmed as federal agents carried boxes of evidence through the lobby. Years of Ryan's careful schemes exposed for the world to see. You'll lose everything, he spat. Once people know the hotel was involved, they'll know it helped bring down a criminal enterprise. I pocketed my phone. The Thompson Hotel becomes the hero of the story. Lily becomes the innocent victim who helped expose the truth. And you become exactly what you always were, a con man who finally got caught. Eva. His voice cracked, that perfect facade finally shattering completely. Please, I'll give you anything. You already did. You taught me how to destroy someone completely. I turned away, nodding to the agents. Goodbye, Ryan. As they led him away, I heard him shouting promises and threats, but they meant nothing now. Grace appeared at my side, squeezing my hand. Lily's awake, she said. She's asking for you. Tell her I'm coming, with good news. Mason stopped me before I could leave. Was it worth it? Becoming like him to destroy him? I thought about Lily in that hospital bed, about our parents' legacy, about all the people Ryan had ruined. I didn't become like him. I became what I needed to be to protect what matters. Through the terminal windows, I watched Ryan being loaded into a federal vehicle. He looked small now, ordinary, all his power stripped away with his illusions. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about revealing who they truly are, and who you can become in the process. The Morrison Building's renovations started on a Tuesday, just like the day Ryan first walked into my hotel. This time, though, I stood alone at the groundbreaking, watching the sunrise paint the old brick walls gold. You're here early. Grace appeared beside me, coffee in hand. The ceremony's not for hours. Just wanted to see it one last time before everything changes. The construction crew arrived, their equipment rumbling to life. Each crash of demolition inside felt like justice, tearing down the last traces of Ryan's schemes to build something real in their place. My phone buzzed, a news alert about Ryan's sentencing. I deleted it without reading. Some endings matter less than new beginnings. Lily's waiting in the lobby, Grace said quietly. She wants to help with the project. I turned away from the construction site, walking toward the hotel. Through the windows, I could see Lily at the front desk, reviewing blueprints with Mason. She looked stronger now, more like herself, though shadows still lingered under her eyes. The Feng Shui consultant says this layout is all wrong. Lily said as I approached. We should move the main entrance. Since when do we care about feng shui? Since I started researching Asian hotel designs. She pushed forward a folder of ideas. If we're partnering with Mr. Chen's hotel group, we should incorporate elements that appeal to international guests. I studied the plans, seeing echoes of our parents' original vision mixed with something new, something ours. Mason gathered his papers. I should go. Ryan's sentencing. Stay, I said. We could use a good lawyer for the permits. He hesitated, surprise flickering across his face. Even after everything? Especially after everything. I met his eyes. Some people deserve second chances. The hotel lobby filled with morning light as guests began trickling down for breakfast. I watched them move through the space, unaware they were standing in what had almost been a crime scene. Now it was just a hotel again. Or maybe it always had been, and Ryan had been the only illusion. Eva, Lily touched my arm, about the inheritance. I want to invest it properly this time. In us. In this. She gestured to the blueprints. If you'll trust me again. Trust isn't the problem. I picked up the feng shui plans. But maybe we start smaller, one renovation at a time. Grace appeared with more coffee and a stack of newspapers. They're calling us the hotel that caught a criminal. Great for business, terrible for headlines. Speaking of business, Mason pulled out one final document. Ryan's assets are being liquidated. His share of the Morrison project is available for purchase. I looked at Lily, seeing the same thought cross her mind. How much? Less than you'd think. No one wants to touch anything with his name on it. Except us, Lily said firmly. We'll take it. Outside, another crash echoed from the construction site. Through the dust, I could see the Morrison building's original stonework emerging, beautiful despite decades of neglect. You know what Mom used to say about old buildings? I asked Lily. That they're like people. Sometimes you have to strip away everything false to find what's real underneath. She smiled, really smiled for the first time in weeks. And then you rebuild. I spread the blueprints across the front desk, our family gathering around them, Grace with her practical suggestions, Mason with his legal notes, Lily with her international designs. All of us damaged by Ryan's deception, all of us choosing to build something new from the ruins. The morning sun reached the crown moulding, the expensive, original details that had first caught Ryan's eye. They still gleamed, but differently now. Less like fool's gold, more like something that had survived the fire and emerged stronger. I picked up a pen, ready to mark changes on the blueprints. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying what's broken. Sometimes it's about reclaiming what was always yours, and building it into something even your enemies couldn't imagine. All right, I said, let's make something beautiful.